Tatis deal. So people looked at his his initial year last year and already deeming him as like this the next great player in baseball. He got paid, as you know, an absurd amount of money. And look, based on last year, people are going to say that's deserving of it, and some people are going to say it's hard to put that deal right away because the fact that he's only really had one exceptional year, and you don't know what he's going to do in the future as things transpire, right? I want to hear your thoughts on that and kind of if you think the deal was worth it, or you think that it was a little bit too much for a guy that just had 1 year of success.
Yeah, I mean, this is a crazy deal. It is totally unprecedented. The longest deal in MLB history before this was 10 years. This is a 14-year deal. I'm going to be 34 years old by the time this deal's up, which is, crazy to think about. And like you said, like he's played one real year, and it was the shortened 60-game season. He's played 143 games in his total career, which is less than 162. So there are a ton of things to look at. The first is maybe for the Padres, this could be a great deal because in 14 years is $26 million a year, which I think is what his deal comes out to. That could be, a normal amount that a good shortstop is getting. And by making that deal now, kind of judging for inflation, could be getting a great deal down the road. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's hard to make this crazy deal, $340 million over 14 years after 143 games. So, I mean, I just got to say, good for you, Fernando Tatis Jr. Way to get the bag, as a 21-year-old. That's incredible for you, but there's a lot of things to think about, and it's really early to be making a deal like this.
Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it too. Like he had a lot of really great success, but he's 21, so they're saying, well, okay, we're banking on the future, but you never know how things are going to play out necessarily in a guy's career. Let's talk about a little bit of what you've seen from spring training, right? And look, I know the season hasn't really officially started, right? But I think spring training is always good to kind of see a little bit about how teams are going to look a little bit. And I wanted to hear kind of your thoughts on how spring training's looked, and with that, your expectations for certain teams going forward this year. Like, do you think the Dodgers are going to repeat, or do you think certain other teams are going to emerge? Talk a little bit about all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so spring training, it's so hard to get a gauge on, just because like you'll have a lineup where you got 3 stars in the lineup, and then the rest of the guys are total scrubs that probably won't even make the big leagues. So it's hard to really look at spring training and see that and try to think about how that's going to go during the year. But I think the MLB is really exciting this year. You got 3 teams who are kind of new, up and coming, and that's the White Sox, the Padres, and the Blue Jays. All those teams can be awesome. They got a ton of young talent. Tatis, who we just talked about, is on the Padres. Blue Jays, they got Craig Biggio's son, Vlad Guerrero's son, Vlad Guerrero Jr., just, a ton of young talent. So those are 3 teams that I think are going to be really good, really fun to watch. And then you also have your Yankees and Dodgers, who they have the biggest payrolls. They're great teams. They got great players. They've been stacking up. And those teams are kind of, you got to sit and say they're going to make the playoffs. They have to.
I want to hear your opinion about this because look, I'm a New Jersey guy, so I've rooted for the Yankees, even though I'm more of a basketball and football guy. I have rooted for the Yankees in the past, but I feel like every year they always have enough talent to win a World Series. But the last couple of years they've fallen short, right? To the Astros a couple of years, and last year they losing to Tampa Bay, and everyone hypes them up again, because they got different guys in certain trades to come to New York again because of the high payroll they have. But I think the fact is, I want to hear your opinion about, do you legitimately see them as a World Series contender, or do you think they're going to flame out again like they've had in the last couple of years? Because, I mean, to be honest, they have.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things about baseball, which is different than all the other sports, is that it is such a long season. And eventually you get to this point where, okay, you got a 7-game series and anything can happen in a 7-game series. Your best pitcher who got you there, he can have a bad game. And then, there's this element of luck that goes into a baseball series, which I think, in basketball, there are always upsets. In football, there are upsets. But I feel like when I watch those playoff games, usually I expect the best teams to win. Whereas in baseball, there is this little element of luck, and having a bunch of great pitchers can help you there. which is why I think this year the Yankees are poised to do well. They got Garrett Cole, they got Severino, who's hurt right now, but think he'll be back in time for the playoffs. They have Domingo Germán, Corey Kluber. So, they are deep in the pitching staff. They have Aroldis Chapman, they have Zach Britton, they have Chad Green, a lot of guys who can win you playoff games. And so I think, if the Yankees are going to do it, this is one of the years that they really should do it. They have the lineup, they have the pitching staff, but it's a 7-game series. Anything can happen. But I do see them finding their way into the ALCS and having the chance to make that run.
What do you think about your Houston Astros? How do you feel about them this year? And obviously, they've been through a lot with all the cheating scandals, right? I've talked to Jack Harlan a little bit about that in the past, but talk a little bit about kind of what your expectations for the Houston Astros are.
Yeah, I think the Astros are going to be good again. Last year in the 60-game season, they weren't great, but then they turned it on in the playoffs. They were one inning away from making the World Series. They did cheat in 2017. I'm not going to deny that. If you want to have that conversation, I totally admit the Astros cheat. I do think more teams cheated than just the Astros, but their lineup is they're stacked. And last year they did what they did.
If you like that clip, subscribe to Shred Takes Podcasts for more content and videos uploaded on this channel.